Today I'm going to show you how to launch Tyk on-premise using CloudFormation on AWS. Before we get started, we have to do a couple AWS networking things to get the CloudFormation set up. So under VPC, we have to set up a VPC. We have to set up two subnets and a route table and an internet gateway. Under VPC, I've already set one up, default VPC. Using IPv4 CIDR block of 10.0.0.0.16. I've created two subnets. You need at least two, even for the POC version, just so Mongo can run in high availability. The subnet is one of them is in US East 1A, and then the second one is in US East 1B. They have to be in different availability zones. 1A has a CIDR block of 10.0.1.0.28, and US East 1B is 10.0.2.0.28. They obviously cannot intersect. I have an internet gateway that's attached to the VPC, and then finally, I have a route table attached to the VPC with the internet gateway that's also attached here. And then the last thing I have to do is under Elasticache is I have to deploy a subnet group to one of the subnets that I just created. So I've selected availability zone US East 1A, and then I selected the subnet ID that corresponds to the one we were looking at earlier. And that's it. Now we can launch our stack. So let's head over to the AWS Marketplace. Okay, so here's my subscriptions. I already have them here, but you could go under Discover Products and then search for Tyk, and then here's what we're looking at. So there's a couple of different products. What we want to look at is the bottom three here with version 0.1. Version 0.1 auto scaling, high availability, and then POC. So we're going to work with this POC one. This is slightly different with this one here, the version 2019. This you bring your own license. So you would purchase a license from us and then inject that into the template. Whereas with these are hourly costs where the price is baked into the software via usage fees. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the POC one and continue to subscribe, and then continue to configuration. So now it says select the CloudFormation template. I'll choose Amazon Linux, deploy it in US East. Continue to launch, and then launch my CloudFormation stack. It pulls in the Amazon S3 URL of the template of the CloudFormation for the POC. Now we can import our parameters. For stack name, I'll use POC Tyk. And then for the first three, Tyk hosted zone, the Tyk dashboard subdomain, the Tyk gateway subdomain, these are all going to be used to input a DNS entry in Route 53. I'll just use GW. For the dashboard, I'll use DB, and then for the hosted zone, I'll use Tyk. And you can just use this as well. AMI select, AWS Linux. For the Tyk dashboard admin organization, I'll use my org, and this is going to be used to create the initial bootstrapped account, as well as this is the name and the value of the org. You can change all this later, but we're going to need this initially to log in. Environment and project, we'll just call them POC. Enable at-rest encryption and enable transit encryption, true for both. And SSH keys to get into my instances. I've already got a key generated, so I'll just go ahead and use my sed key. And users and passwords. So again, this is just for the initial bootstrap. For all the passwords, I'll use admin, and for all the usernames, I'll use admin once. Okay. And because it's a POC, I don't care about changing them. If it was production, obviously, I would go in and change it after the fact. Networking. So here's where we take advantage of that networking that we just set up. So for VPC, we choose the one that I created. And for Tyk Mongo slave subnet list, keyword being list, we have to select at least two availability zones. I'll choose 1A and 1B. Now, for the Tyk gateway, the Tyk pump, the Tyk dashboard, and Mongo, it's just a single instance, at least in the POC version, so we're just going to launch them all in US East 1A. Finally, Elasticache subnet, we're going to choose the subnet that we had configured an Elasticache subnet for, which is this one here. And we're done. Under instance sizing, we can leave everything as default. And under other parameters, we can leave everything as default. Next, permissions, we can choose an IAM role to create all the resources under. We can leave it blank because the CloudFormation will actually generate an IAM role for us. So we'll leave all this default and hit next. Then we can review all our stack details. Going down to the bottom, and we have to select this here. It says, I acknowledge that AWS CloudFormation might create IAM resources. This CloudFormation template will in fact create resources, 37 of them to be exact in the POC version. So we have to give it access. And it's 37 different things such as security groups and instances and route tables and security groups. I might have already said that. So we have to give it permission. And we create stack. So I've already created this a while ago. It takes about an hour for this to run. For this to create and bootstrap all the resources from scratch. So I did this a while ago, and now you can see that it's created. And we can go in here, we can go into resources, we can see it's created 37 resources from Elasticache clusters to Mongo security groups to the Tyk Gateway instance and more. Outputs, here's our passwords and our secrets and all that good stuff. We can obviously go in and change them if it was production. Parameters if we forgot what we put in, and that's it. So now we can access our gateway and our dashboard. Well, how do we do that? Let's go over to services in EC2, and now we're running 6 instances, the Tyk pump, gateway, dashboard, and then a bunch of Mongo things. So everything is running in US East 1A except for the Mongo, which is in 1B. Now, in order to access these, they have a private IP, but they don't have public IP. So in order to give it a public IP, we can use Elastic IP. So we go under Elastic IP, and I can allocate an Elastic IP addresses, yes, from Amazon's pool of IPv4 addresses. And just like that, it gives me a public IP. So now we have to associate it. So we have to associate this Elastic IP address with something else. And now under instance, I pick the dashboard. And for private IP address, I pick the private IP address that will that corresponds to the dashboard. I associate. And that's it. So now we can use this IP to access our dashboard. And our dashboard's running on port 3000. And now if we remember, let's get rid of those. If we remember, to log in, we have to use the admin username, which for us was admin, at the organization name, which for us was myorg.com. And the password is just the admin password, which for us is admin. And login. And that's it. Now we're logged in, and we have a fully functioning dashboard that we can use. If I go into nodes and licenses, you can see that there's a single node that's connected. Because it's POC, we're only allowed 1 available. With high availability, it's 2. And then with auto scaling, it's as many as you need. So now let's finally connect to our gateway. So I'll allocate a new IP. And it's been generated. Now I can associate it and then choose the gateway here. Choose the gateway IP and associate. Now we have our gateway IP. And I can go here and then visit that IP at port 8080 where our gateway is running. Hello, and our gateway says hello back. So how are these ports open? Well, the CloudFormation template actually creates the security groups with the right networking setup already. So if I go under security groups for networking, I can find the Tyk gateway security, and under inbound, I can see that it's already been created to allow incoming port 8080. And then for the dashboard, it's already been configured to allow traffic for port 3000. I've actually added this one, SSH, while the CloudFormation was still running. So now I've added that. Let's go into the gateway for a different example, and I'll edit. So if I go into here, and I try to SSH, and I use my key, ec2user at the IP.com, and that's the IP for the gateway. We can see that there. And I hit enter. It's not going to do anything. It's because we don't have access via the security group. So if I go under edit and add a rule to say allow SSH traffic from anywhere and save, well, now if I kill that and start again, now I'm allowed in. It says, are you sure you want to connect? I say yes, and we're in. So I can just do journal CTL and check out the logs for the gateway, make sure everything is running, and there it is. You can see that it's actually connected to the dashboard. It hasn't found any IPs yet, any APIs yet, excuse me, but it's connected. It knows that none exists. So if I was to go and add one in your APIs, I'll just add a new API, call it Hello World, and save. Well, there we are. So if I go back into here and then go in again, it says reloading endpoints. And then now the gateway has found a new API. It's called Hello World, and it's imported that into its settings. So now it's ready to reverse proxy. And that's it. That's really everything that we have to do in order to set up the Tyk stack on CloudFormation. Let me know if you have questions or feedback.